Welcome back, everyone. It's Snoo, and it's time for me to bring you part 3 of the Break the Meta series, featuring the long-awaited, much-anticipated Magic Fine Lightning Arrow Ascendant with haste via the Sublime Vision this time. So, quick recap. Started off with the Deadeye, Scorch, Anger was involved with that one. Then I realized the champion might have some cool things to offer with more tankiness, and later discovered Forbidden Right, proccing all the way up to 20 rage per second or more, potentially. That was really cool. And I figured, why not just tack a third one on? I like exploring what the Ascendant can bring to the table when looking at bow builds as well. One of my favorite characters of all time was the Ascendant that I made in Calandra League, so this is a little bit of a callback to that. Some similar looking tech also with the Elegant Hubris with an impossible escape this time. Can't wait to show you everything we got working with. There she is, you can see her on the screen there. We're going to start, you know the drill. Going to show you some of the core items at the very beginning. Kind of think of it as the TLDR. We'll do a map showcase. I'm going to showcase you something interesting and special with one of the map mods. I specifically selected a very particular type of map to show you something I kind of probably should have showed you in the first two, maybe. And then we'll get into the gear, the gems. That'll go by very quickly this time, just like last time. Then we'll spend some time in the PoE. I got some really cool something bonus to show you in the PoE, so do stick around for that. Then just do my final thoughts, of course. So let's get to it. Let's start with the Sublime Vision. This time it's going to be haste, and haste brings, wow, an added 10% action speed while affected by haste. Who doesn't want that? That is very, very strong, although I would say it's definitely not as strong as transforming Ignite to Scorch. Still really cool, and that's kind of on the theme with the Ascendant just being a very well-rounded variation of this build. It's just kind of bringing maybe a little bit more of everything in a way. I wouldn't necessarily call it the strongest choice in any one particular category, but that said, me choosing haste here definitely makes this the fastest one, with at least with Val haste up, doing well over 500% increased movement speed. And if you want to get a sense of what this character looks like, the movement speed, well, here you go. I mean, there she's a speed demon, absolute attacking, ridiculous. I mean, it almost looks like I have Soul Eater on right now. I mean, it does help whenever you have, say, this Crucible mod on your bow, but yeah. That's still pretty crazy. Definitely the fastest attacking, fastest moving character, especially out of combat. I talked a lot about the champion being pretty fast. And incidentally, if you haven't seen the other two videos, once again, I'm going to be referencing some things I said in the previous two videos, especially the Deadeye video. So I highly recommend you familiarize yourself with that in case you were just jumping into this. Some things might be a little bit out of context for you. All right, so back to haste, Sublime Vision. We're going to be incorporating a Watcher's Eye. You know, I really like this Watcher's Eye. I'm really annoyed by Temporal Chains, and this build does not have Curse immunity, so Temporal Chain just straight up immune to it's really, really awesome. The automatic phasing, kind of a big deal there too. And then the cooldown recovery rate. You know, I kind of thought this was a bit of a meme or a bit of a joke, but look at this. Look at my dash cooldown. I mean, this is awesome. And especially if we combine the fact that I'm running haste, really fast character, with the tremendously reduced dash cooldown, this one certainly is the fastest, especially if I factor in all those things at once. So if you want to move blisteringly fast, especially when it comes to looting, wow, this one is... I quite enjoy the looting phase on this character, even though it's, you know, not super tanky. It is technically a little tankier than the Deadeye, though, because we do have endurance charges, thanks to Overcharge. Really nice to be able to get this in, and once again, because this is here, I don't need Power Charge on crit, and I can, in this case, get Innervate support for a little added damage. This character does actually do quite a bit of damage. I mean, haste does actually give a lot of damage, but again, not quite as high as Scorch does. So, yeah, the Watcher's Eye there. And then the other things to point out, you know, there's obviously a different ascendancy tree we'll take note of, but we're using the Deadeye combined with Inquisitor and combined with Berserker. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on when we get into the passives. Okay, we have an Elegant Hubris that is, I mean, probably the most powerful of the three, but there's definitely a little extra tech working here. We got a massive wheel. The Ascendant gets some really unique access to jewels and combinations that you can do here. I spent a great deal of time looking at all the various different combinations I could do. This is the best thing I could come up with some really, really strong notables here, as you can see. And again, we'll go over these in more detail when we look at the passives, but thanks to an impossible escape right here, able to unlock what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potential notables inside this Elegant Hubris. So have a look at the Timeless Jewel Calculator. That's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to go through and see what else you can do. Of course, the Massive Wheel also gets a lot of added value over here, so quite enjoy this combination. This looks very reminiscent of my Ascendant from Calandra League. However, I didn't use the Impossible Escape on that one. I instead used, what was it? Strangle Gasp with unique annoyance. It just sprinkled in the rest. That one had 200% increased rarity, but this one, in fact, has 120% increased rarity. So one extra rarity notable that's not present on the Deadeye or the Champion, in fact. All right, so that is kind of the key difference there. Also, using Thread of Hope. Now, I didn't use this for the Deadeye, but I did use it for the Champion. Of course, this unlocks a lot of extra potential points, piercing shots, if I didn't have a pierce already somewhere. The Ascendant has not 6, but 7 projectiles with this setup. But Inspired Learning is definitely an option there. I would drop it down to 5. There, okay. So there you go. That is kind of what we got going on right in its face. Now, here we go. This is a map. And this map has a mod that everybody hates to run on this mod, with a Wandering Path setup anyway. Yeah. The PoE Atlas all in the description below. This is exactly the same Atlas I ran for the other two. The same Atlas I've been running for like 2 weeks straight. This has it. You can probably see it here. Not actually the non-curse aura reduction, so that's going to reduce the effectiveness of my haste quite a bit. That's okay. The one that I'm talking about is players have 60% less recovery rate of life and energy shield. And let's see what that looks like when I go into this map in a Wandering Path map. You're going to see I'm going to have almost no recovery. Now, I already have no regeneration because of Calm Spirit. Incidentally, we get a little bit more rage per second on this build than we did on the Deadeye, but a lot less than on the Champion. We'll talk about why that is. Oh, wow, another Delirium Mirror spawning in there. Okay, so if we look at it here, it's going to say players have 96% less, that's its own multiplier, less recovery rate of life and energy shield. So, I do have Leech on the build, thanks to the Berserker Ascendancy. I do have a lot of life on hit, thanks to the Implicit on Ghoul Song. So I'll be okay to run this. But a lot of people wouldn't run this, or would think to never run this with Calm Spirit because, well, I must have 96% less rage regen. But you can see, if we move around here, that's not 96% less rage regen, that's a full rage regen. So this particular mod is not so bad when it comes to the rage. And I guess it's because it converts after. Now, I still definitely do not run players cannot regenerate anything. I completely skipped that mod because that happens before the conversion. And, you know, I don't want to have that. Don't want to deal with that. Incidentally, I run everything except both Reflex and the no regen. I can run Elemental Reflect, though, if I put in, you know, the Awakened Elemental Damage with Attack Support and deposit one here instead of, say, Culling Strike. Can do that. So let's go ahead and see what we're capable of doing on this map as we go through it like usual. Oh, hold on a second here. Put that back up so y'all can see it. Delirium Mirror, I like seeing an Expedition here. It's one of the reasons why I have Expedition have a high random spawn chance, because this right now, the mirror is not moving. And I'm not terribly worried about the positioning there. But it's going to hold back the Delirium Mirror a lot, kind of like King Harbingers did last league. Expedition's very good for that. You do need to hit the pump, though. Okay, we'll put a kind of a Val Lightning Arrow in the boss there. Come back out, and you can see I'm really fast. I'm really fast in combat. I'm really fast out of combat. Either way, works out quite nicely. Got a Beyond boss there. He's the most rippy Beyond boss. Definitely do die occasionally on this character. If I have a really bad map or I take way too many altars, it can spell serious danger for me. Polished breach, I guess, here. Okay, we're going to go on and start doing the legions. I figured I had some stuff there. Right on the edge of the mirror right here. But I think it will be fine. Get most of this map cleared out fine. Not too bad. Bad timing there. Unlocked the legion as Berserk fell off. But quite a bit of damage, yeah. Okay, second legion. I mean, obviously we're back on cemetery again. I definitely like this character a little bit more on cemetery. Talked about Crimson Temple before. I think that my favorite thing about the champion is Crimson Temple gameplay here. Definitely the best out of all of those. Okay, managed to kill him, no problem. Get that breach and that legion out of the way at the same time. This is a great position on both of these. Way out in the middle of nowhere. Get to open up the whole thing, I think. Or nearly. Now, again, keep in mind, 96% less recovery of life. But I still seem to be doing okay. Still seem to be alright. Got a lot of recovery anyway. That implicit on the bow definitely helps. But, you know, even if I adjust the leech by itself, I might be able to pull it off. If this was too much, I'll tell you what I would do. I would pull out the life tap support on the Maniforge link. In fact, that's what I would definitely recommend doing if you didn't have life on hit already. In fact, I may need to do that now. So it gets a little precarious at this point, where the map is clear. Again, very fast clear there. And I already mentioned before, this part of the map right now is, you know, I mean, it's kind of fun. Go around and pick up the loot, see what kind of booty you got. But obviously, it's a little bit cumbersome. Very much so when I'm running a headhunter. Not my favorite part of the map when running a headhunter. But I like it a lot more on this character. This is my favorite character to do this process of the map. And it is a big part, you know, it is a big part of running any map. The process of having to go around and pick up the loot. Unless you're, you know, not really juicing up a map and you're just looting on the go, which is fine for that kind of content. But for here, I'd much rather just clear the whole thing and come back and loot. This is quite easy going. This is the slowest I am right here. I'm right in between the Berserk phase, and that's the slowest I am right there. Alright, so map's done. So again, it can get dangerous here. If I keep casting, you see, you know, my life goes down, and then what? I have 6 life. It gets kind of weird. So that's why, you know, you may want to pull life tap out either way. But here we go. I mean, that's the loot. Not terrible, not great, but all right. Got an Exalted Orb, I guess. That was a fun map. Pretty easy going. It wasn't too hard, but it had one of the very most dangerous mods on it that the vast majority of players, I think, avoid when doing 8-mod Corrupted Wandering Path map. And it wasn't that big of a deal for this character, especially because the Rage still worked in full. So I had a lot of extra defense and offense, and you just kind of power through it without too much trouble. Well, next is gear. And the gear is, once again, Ghoul Song, which is, you know, I've said this a couple times before, probably the best bow in existence, depending on, you know, how much you value Explode, I guess. I think it's pretty good, and it's not super useful for Lightning Arrow. You know, it's really all about the insane damage that this bow has, plus 2 additional arrows, obviously nice. Wish I had a little higher crit chance, but that's okay. The quiver is here. We're back to accuracy because I have just barely 100% chance to hit, I think, with this setup. Yep, you know, if that number's 92, that means I'm right at cap. And we got Vengeance Cascade, still pulling some great numbers there. You'll notice that the health pool of this character is almost as high as the Deadeye. I think the Deadeye was around 4,500. And the champion was much less. But anyway, we got Pariah with the haste in there. And we've got a good old Ventor's Gamble, which is very important to have super high lightning res there. Because my lightning res, actually, this is the only character where my lightning res is not up to snuff. However, with endurance charges, it is good. So there's that. Okay, we got Doom Dome here, my favorite helmet ever created, I think. Really love this one. Just getting the projectiles out of the way. I know that I can put the projectiles right here in piercing shots. I feel like I'd rather have that passive for something else. I just get more value out of it. But I can make myself extra tanky with this setup. Putting in 8% fizz taken as fire. Could do that. Okay, Calm Spirit, good. And we got Gold Worm over here. This time, it's enchanted with attack and cast speed if you've killed recently. So just kind of, doubling down on faster attacks, I guess, with this character. It's nice with haste and the increased action speed to do that. With the Deadeye, I had cannot be stunned. So cannot be stunned is good in conjunction with Heart of the Oak, of course, for 80% chance to avoid stun. But I already have the Berserker Ascendancy, which for the Ascendant gives me stun immunity so long as I have at least 25 rage. So I'm kind of playing around with, playing with fire a little there, but I do get stunned occasionally. But you know what? Trying to maximize the build a little bit. Go ahead and do that really nice enchant there. Mage Blood, 3 flasks, so, we're still using Progenesis and Divination Distillate, and still got the Gold Flask and Quicksilver Flask. I'm just kind of blazing through this because I've already talked about it once or twice before, so please check out the Deadeye video if you want to hear me go into more detail about the gear. Same goes for the gems, so we might as well go through the gems. I haven't changed anything here. Exact same gem links that I've been talking about this whole time. Absolutely love this Mana Forge setup with the life tap support. Adding a lot of extra damage and adding a whole bunch of freeze. Goes in conjunction nice with Herald of Ice because Ice Shot is one of the gem links in there. It does surprisingly high amount of damage even when it's only connected to life tap and elemental damage with attacks. Sniper's Mark, mark on hit. Dash is there. Again, Dash is an incredibly low cooldown thanks to that Watcher's Eye mod, making this definitely overall the fastest character of the 3. I guess that is, I'd have to say that's the claim to fame for the Ascendant variant here. But that primarily has to do with the choice of haste more than anything. And let's see, we got, a little difference here. We got Frenzy with Mana Forge, Arrow Support. This gem, this blue gem, is different in every single build. For the Deadeye, this was Power Charge on crit support. For the Champion, this was Forbidden Right. And for this character, it's Innervate support. So it just happened to be able to squeeze Innervate support in there for some extra passive lightning damage. Flat lightning damage. Up at most times, you can rewind and look at the map ran again. You'll see Innervate was up quite a bit. It helps Frenzy get the killing blow when a Culling Strike is attached to it. Which Innervate has to get, this link has to get the killing blow to receive Innervate every 8 seconds. Then, one of my favorite links here, this Enhanced support. Still don't have level 5 Enhanced. Anomalous Berserk, Anomalous Blood and Sand, and not Anomalous Petrified Blood because it ended up just being too much damage over time. Even though I would like to have 53% reduction as opposed to 40% reduction. Creates too much damage over time, and especially with the addition life tap supports, I would much rather just kind of be comfortably sitting at around 50% life and not have to worry about trying to out-recover that. That would definitely fail a map if I had Anomalous Petrified Blooding combined with 96% less life recovery. It would absolutely fail the map if I did that. Okay, so that is it for the gem links. Let's do passives. Okay, I'm going to go straight to the Ascendant first to tell you all about it. This is what kind of makes the Ascendant cool. The Ascendant gets its own separate Ascendancy passive, so we're going to take the Deadeye for 1 additional arrow, 25% increased effective marks. Both of those are really nice. A little bit of long shot in here, which is, there's no downside to being close, so that's cool. And Tailwind. Now, this is not the superior version of Tailwind with Gathering Winds, which is 20% action speed, but this is 8% action speed, so I do feel like a true Deadeye kind of when I combine 10% increased action speed with this here. Now, Gathering Winds is conditional on kills. That's what makes the Ascendant pretty cool, so this is why it's a cool choice for, again, maximizing out of combat movement speed or hideout movement speed or looting movement speed is really, really cool. All right, then of course we're going to pass to the Ranger so I can do the start zone here. Then Inquisitor. Now this is a curious choice for me to do. I really like this with Calm Spirit. I think a lot of people don't realize how crazy strong this is. 10% chance to create consecrated ground when you hit a rare unique enemy. Now if I'm doing legions and juicing up maps, that's always lasting 8 seconds. Effects of consecrated ground you create linger for 4 seconds. Now there is a jewel that can kind of do this for you too, but that it'll never work for ranger class because it requires you to not have dexterity as your highest one. It does work if you have omniscience, however. But this is a magic find build, so the only way to make this work, this tech, for a magic find build running with a Eyes of the Great Wolf, is this particular ascendancy on the Ascendant to get 5% life regen basically at all times, and that's going to equate to around 2 or 3 rage regeneration per second, around 3% rage or plus 3 rage per second regenerated. Really nice. The Deadeye does not have something like this, so really cool. Nearby enemies take 10% increased elemental damage. You'll notice I'm always in the face of enemies anyway. I just kind of prefer it that way. Damage penetrates 8% of enemy elemental resistance. This is a really strong ascendancy, very strong, especially in conjunction with Calm Spirit, in my opinion. I think a lot of people sleep on this one. The jewels for this are extraordinarily cheap. Now, I took the jewels for Berserker instead, but I could have taken the jewels for Inquisitor. The problem is that I really needed 20 strength and 20 intelligence to balance things out on the attributes, which created for an extremely tight build. If you want to see proof of that, I require 159 strength to run this build, and I require 114 intelligence to run this build, so I'm literally 1 attribute away from not being able to equip and use every single thing. So that's how tight this one turned out to be. But essentially, for that, I was able to craft a cluster jewel, which you got to see the highlight on YouTube recently, with 3% attack speed instead of plus 4 attributes, for example. That's what I got for doing it this way and having it set up there. I mean, that ends up being 40% increased attack speed, making it, again, a wicked fast character. So I already kind of scrolled over this, but we got the Berserk Ascendancy. My Ascendant back in Calandar League took this as well. 1 rage on hit with an internal cooldown gives me essentially about 3 rage per second. So basically between the Berserker Ascendancy and Inquisitor Ascendancy, you can pretty much rely on about 6 additional rage per second. So the Deadeye is around 8 rage per second. The Ascendant is more closer to around 12 or 13 rage per second. That feels a lot more comfortable than 8, not gonna lie. Because what that means is as my Berserk anomalous enhanced Berserk cooldown is coming off cooldown, instead of my rage being around here in the middle when it comes off, and then it kind of goes up to maybe 35 or 40 at the most, and then goes down. What it means is my rage will be back up to around 40 or 45, and then it scrolls all the way up to 50, and sits at 50 for a little while, and then finally drops down. So the Ascendant definitely, again, moving faster consistently at higher rage, sits at 50 for a while. The only way the Deadeye gets that is if I've taken damage over time recently through this amazing Pantheon. Can kind of get around that with this, so the 20% increased recovery rate of life and energy shield if you stop taking damage over time recently. That does work out a lot in Delirium maps, at least, but it's certainly much less reliable than these. I really like that. The Berserker, as you can see, comes with kind of a bad downside, 5% increased damage taken, but 15% more damage. Certainly a good payoff there. And the Leech. The Leech is important because all 3 characters are getting Leech in a totally different spot. This is where this character is getting all of its Leech. The Champion got Leech right here with Spirit Void and Vitality Void through the massive wheel connection. The Deadeye got Leech through the classic Feed the Fury, Fuel the Fight, large cluster, and then this one is getting Leech here. So pretty cool. I kind of like how I was able to creatively get Leech in a totally different way for all 3 characters. And there's certain things that's fun about these builds, because there'll be like one cool little area where it's just totally different on all 3 builds, such as this gem slot, such as where Leech is, and a few other things that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But anyway, coming back to the passives here, that's the Ascendancy. We're going to go down here to take this massive Thread of Hope to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passes out of it. Not huge value, but in my opinion, Overcharge is worth at least 2 passive points in there because I'm getting both power and endurance charge on there. Not super reliable, at just 8% chance to gain one of the 3 charges unless you're doing juice content and killing really fast, then it is super reliable. So overcharge is legit for the kind of maps that I'm running. True Strike, one of the strongest crit notables in the entire passive skill tree, by the numbers, I think. And then 8% mana reservation efficiency was not needed for the Deadeye, even though I had access to it, but kind of is for this character. Still sitting at 112, and if I were to remove this, I'd be down lower. Plus, I'm getting 2% additional right there, so actually do need this one here. I could take Supreme Ostentation. I can quite literally select this and remove all of the attribute issues. The problem is accuracy. My accuracy got absolutely destroyed for doing that. So I messed around with it a lot. I looked at it a lot of different ways. You know, I could recraft the quiver and get a full-blown tier 1 accuracy mod in there. You know, I just couldn't find a way where it was really worth doing. With some possible exceptions, which we'll get into with some of the bonus material in the PoE. We're getting there. We're almost there. All right, so this Elegant Hubris, crazy strong for 2 points, 80% increased projectile attack damage, 37% chaos res. Really nice because that put me at, with Progenesis, 19 or 59 chaos res over time, thanks to this Pantheon. And 140% rarity of items found, 240% rarity of items found, 340% rarity of items found, as well as a nice little crit multi and 80% chance to avoid shocks, combined with thick skin wheel and storm shroud. There it is. The immunity to get that purity of elements. So all three builds are utilizing an Elegant Hubris with one 80% shock avoidance node combined with storm shroud. Very efficient way to get elemental ailment immunity without purity of elements. So, I mean, whether you were using Sublime Vision or not, I mean, that could, I mean, just saving a huge amount of reservation, you know, worst case scenario. Go all the way down to ballistics here. Because we got two of these flask effect nodes, we are getting 94% increased quantity of items found, just like the Deadeye, and this one has the most rarity of items found, almost 500%, if I'm not mistaken, or kind of close to that. Fitness, kind of going to need this global accuracy mod. Still pretty good there, and actually the 20 dex itself is giving me some accuracy as well. Heart of the Oak, the regen there. Do need to take charisma this time. Don't really get a whole lot out of the reservation mastery, however. The Impossible Escape only has one place to go, and it's got to go here. And that's because, you know, I have it right here, so I'm getting 4 very valuable notables there. Revenge of the Hunted for some life, getting a lot of life. And this is also, oh, speaking of things where each different character had something different, this mastery is different on each character. The Deadeye didn't take it at all, but still got Forces of Nature through the massive wheel. The Deadeye didn't take it because it had Scorch, and it therefore doesn't need this mastery. The Champion gets it down here, and just gets, you know, the points here because it's the fastest access. However, the Deadeye's already pathing up here, so for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get Forces of Nature and this mastery. Definitely worth taking it here. And so that's a cool little difference between all three different builds, is how I handled this particular elemental mastery. And then we got the 1 passive voices, going Sublime Vision. One hard thing about this build was I had to get you have to have at least 2 medium clusters with perfect tier 1 intelligence rolls. And the most damage you can get here is pressure points and quick getaway, arguably the best 2 there. And we got 1 nice spike concoction special reserve. And indeed, even that +5 dex roll is the difference between 99 and 100% chance to hit. So, I mean, this is the tightest build of the 3 for sure. Without a doubt. But hey, it's cool. Okay, then we got the large Thread of Hope, which we're getting Aspect of the Eagle, Quick Step, 1 with Nature, Primeval Force, and Master Fletcher, multi-shot, and potentially even piercing shots. I'm getting the most value of large wheel on this particular build out of the 3. However, I prefer running this with Inspired Learning anyway. I do. Because I still got... So I have 7 arrows on this build, a little bit overkill. So I can still get 5 arrows even if I drop this. And it does mean that I'm losing some accuracy, unfortunately, but like through right here. So I can kind of work around it and just, you know, one of the inspired buffs gives you accuracy anyway. So I do like Inspired Learning there. All right, it's Spell suppress capped at all. This is a similar story to the Deadeye. The champion had straight up 99% chance to suppress spells. The Deadeye and the Ascendant both have around 70, 75 with lucky. Hey, it's still useful though. Still good. Let's see. A bonus 8% at all times because we are phasing at all times thanks to this Watcher's Eye. So that is straight up 8% spell suppress. Maybe the least valuable notable. If I were to pull a single notable out of this build, like the first one I would probably pull is this one right here. And then, I mean, or you could swap these around over here. Right here, but lethality, the stronger variant with more crit multi. And of course, the life mastery thick skin. And then we down to the large cluster, which I've already talked about. And you got to see crafted in real time through the YouTube highlight there. Berserk ascendancies are points in here. Just look how much value that is on each point. I mean, that's pretty crazy. 16% damage, 4% attack speed, 13 life, and 10 strength. And if I pull this out, I mean, I lose 500 health or something like that. It's something wild. How much life? Maybe not 500, but sorry, I guess it's like 300, 200, 300, 250 to 300 life is lost if I pull this out. So I was messing around with some other variants, and I didn't like how I lost so much health. Since our main defensive layer is, again, Genesis combined with Petrified Blood and a very high life pool. And the Ascendant needs it, you know, because not that much stronger than the Deadeye anyway. Okay, so that is it for the passives. We're going to do the PoB. Here it is. All right, so we've already looked at a lot of this here. We'll go into the calculations. Really? Not what I want to see. Yes. That looks like we got a technical difficulty on our hands. Try that again. That's not an error I usually see. I believe I saved it. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's see. Here it is. The highest increased item rarity roll of all, 473%. The recovery is all right here. There's some of that life recovery. You get 5% regen from consecrated ground. I went ahead and manually put in a little bit of recovery. Or no, sorry, I manually put in the rage regen. So the rage regen is 12.5. I put in regenerate 3 rage per second. This is to cover the Berserk Ascendancy because there's no other way to manually put that in. Right there. But I am on consecrated ground. I believe, yes. So you can see the rage regen drops when I'm in consecrated ground. So the Inquisitor Ascendancy is giving me, look at that, 2.6. 2.6 rage per second. Pretty awesome. Let's see, anything else to look at here? Defenses aren't going to measure up a whole lot. Most of that 36k effective health hit pool is coming from the Progenesis Petrified Blood high life pool on average. And, you know, crit multipliers, crit chance. If I put in the right one, however. Let's put in the right one. There we go. Okay, so it's all there. You can check out the PoB in the description below. All right, spell suppress chance. Yeah, not really. 93%. If I drop this, it goes all the way down to 74. Wow, that's pretty crazy how strong lucky is factored in here. Definitely recommend that mastery. All right, let's go into the config. See everything that's up here. Pantheons are selected. All the frenzy charges, 1000 rampage, life tap, onslaught, tailwind, adrenaline is not supposed to be selected. Wow, that was an accident. I'll get that fixed in the real PoB. That actually explains a lot. I was wondering why the Deadeye felt like it had more damage than what was being registered compared to the Ascendancy. That I actually just figured out something very important there. Carrying over the PoB from the champion side to make the Ascendant, I forgot to unselect adrenaline, so that's good to get that fixed. Then we have crit recently, yes, for quick getaway. Killed recently, yes, for the booting chant. Let's see. Projectile, travel distance. I mean, kind of, you know. This is because of the Ascendant Deadeye's node, getting a little bonus there. Now, I have no blind in this build, unfortunately. And we got chill, shock, no scorch. Maximum shock, I think, was up pretty well. Maximum Trinity support against the boss. Here's what it looks like against non-boss. Okay. And yeah, if I stop taking damage recently, like in Delirium Mirror, I'm up to 14.4. There. Okay. Now, I mentioned before, we're getting into some of the bonus stuff here. So if you're just listening, you're definitely going to want to see this. If you are a fan of Headhunter play, but you also really don't want to give up Mage Blood because it makes you so fast outside of combat, I've got something cool to show you. So first of all, Inspired Learning is something I used on the Deadeye. And to get the Inspired Learning here, this is kind of what it looks like, right? Save me a few points. And it's nice. And this is one of my favorite ways to run this build, actually. This setup here. Again, if I'm doing like Winged Legion Scarab, stuff like that, or even Gilded Legion, this is, I think, a superior way to run because it's just so many buffs stolen in such a short period of time. As you all know, Legion is so good for that. But a lot of people ask me about, what about a second Inspired Learning? Well, I mean, I don't know. What are you going to do? You're going to go all the way up here. You're going to do this, 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 and this, I guess. You know, I mean, yeah, you know, you could do this. It would cost a lot, but definitely could do that. I got a cool alternative, though. How about this? I'm curious what costs more. That was 38. About the same. Get a bit more life this way, though. Get an additional 80% armor, too, is nice. But anyway, this is a cool variation, too. So you could do double Inspired Learning this way. The only way to fit this in, because as you can see, it put me way over cap there. You do something like this. I got a cluster here that I think would be a pretty decent choice here. This would be Tempered Arrowheads, because obviously I lost a lot of crit chance doing that. Feed the Fury and Martial Prowess to help with some of the lack of accuracy, which is going to happen if I'm way under attribute requirement. Well, I can take Supreme Ostentation. I can swap this Mastery over down here. I could... This is where I talked about, you know, if there was ever a situation where I would recraft the quiver, it would be here. I don't know. Don't really have to have that extra bow. Even if I lose this bow, I'm still have 4 arrows and then 2 Inspired Learning, so I'd actually have a lot more arrows. Alright, I think this is how I would type this out. You can see my hit chance got absolutely wrecked there, and this puts me all the way back up to 98%. 98% hit chance, still no blind. I would also lose phasing in the build, I think. Well, if I swap this out here. But yeah, this would be a possible variant. And, you know, I mean, you could do it here or you could do it up here. So I do think the Ascendant is the most eligible, maybe, for potentially dropping it down to, or rather cranking it up to 2 Inspired Learnings, which I'm a little curious about. I don't know if I'm going to give it a try myself. It would make a lot more sense if I was doing a Fizz to element conversion, which I think would be kind of the ultimate Chad play for this build. Fizz to element magic, find lightning arrow. But you wouldn't be able to do that unless you were probably using Hatred, Wrath, or Anger. Anger would be an interesting choice because those Watcher's Eye come with the conversion mod, which you could get all the way up to, you could actually get to 100% conversion if you took one of those mods. So, curious about what you guys think about that one, though. But anyway, I just figured I'd share that little morsel of bonus, potential bonus, even taking this build even further. You definitely lose a lot of power, though, like on the surface. But getting an extra Inspired Learning, pretty good. Pretty good. So final thoughts for this video. Final thoughts. I think this time what I'll talk about is which one I like the best. I feel like champion is definitely number 3 for me of the top 3, and that's mainly just because I don't mind the glass cannon nature of gameplay and just kind of going along for the ride of, you know, you're just going to get picked off occasionally by this or that. I would prefer to be in a situation. I feel like the way this game is balanced, and we can call this fortunately or unfortunately, it's balanced in such a way where, you know, you just got to kill or be killed to have a build like this, regardless of the budget, really. Now, the champion attempts to circumvent that balance and you know, maybe you can get tanky enough to actually tank a few hits. But on the champion, things will take a little longer to kill. It's perfectly evidenced by, you know, the champion video. You know, you saw me, I even still died once in the champion video, and I think it had a lot to do with the fact that it was just taking me too long to kill one of those enemies. But I definitely like the champion. In Crimson Temple, I thought, you know, Crimson Temple, I've been playing Crimson Temple also on the Ranger, the Deadeye and the Ascendant, and some of those maps, man. If you've been watching on live stream, some of those maps are vicious. Because Crimson Temple is just so much more dangerous, especially in a situation where you're trying to kill or be killed, going around the corners, tight corridors and everything. Champion does seem to thrive a lot in that environment, but definitely out in the open on Cemetery, I prefer one of the more powerhouse classes with just more speed, more damage. So I think the Deadeye and the Ascendant are my preferred. Which one's number 1? I think I gotta go with damage, especially with the revelation I had in the PoB there, where I forgot to undo Adrenaline, which was a big revelation for me. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I gotta say, I like the Scorch variant the best with the Deadeye. I do like it the best. I thought, and that was a last second change with that. I think it's really cool. I think it's the champion's usage of the Watcher's Eye and the Forbidden Rite cast on crit. That is definitely the coolest or most innovative way to use a Sublime Vision that I could come up with. The Ascendant is, you know, the least so. It's just haste and just adding more speed or whatever. It's cool, you know, getting that movement speed out of combat's great. But definitely the most powerful variant of Sublime Vision that I saw, the most useful, the one that's most relevant, and the one that I would probably recommend the most would be with Scorch. Now, you could run Scorch on any of the 3 characters. You don't have to run Scorch on the Deadeye. You could run Scorch on the Ascendant too. Would not be a terrible choice. However, I mentioned in the first video there was kind of a specific reason to choose each one individually. One of the main reasons I chose haste for the Ascendant, there's no convenient way to get haste into the build. The Deadeye had extra jewel slots where I could put an Abyss Jewel with haste on kill. The champion got haste through the massive wheel, was barely able to take this node right here for 1 point. The Ascendant doesn't have any of those options. The Ascendant here only has this mastery. Otherwise, stuff's kind of far away. Now, that isn't to say you couldn't figure out a way to get haste into the build, but it was just, as far as a convenience thing, it was just it was much more useful for the Ascendant to go haste for this Watcher's Eye mod. You have phasing while affected by haste. And I really like phasing. A build that doesn't have phasing is not a very good build, in my opinion, any way you look at it. And then the champion, of course, just kind of double downing on increased Berserk uptime with that Vitality choice is the reason why I chose it on there for even more defense, looking at Berserk for defensive purposes, not just its offensive purposes, which left the Deadeye, which already felt really strong for offense, with the huge effect of marks to work out really well on that. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. It was another 40-minute video, so we're going to call it there. And I really am quite grateful that you all watched this. If you watched all 3 of these, let me know. And let me know which one is your favorite. And let me know if there are any types of variations that you think or you see or you're inspired to check out through the PoBs. The PoBs are all available. Each individual video had its own PoB. And they're there for your access. You can do whatever you want with those. Have at it. Remake the character point for point if you can, if you want to. I will be doing Diablo 4 coming up next week. There's one major video I still want to come out with, and that's going to be 100 maps, Winged Scarabs farm on Cemetery. We're going to see if Winged Scarabs going all out with the investment is good. I'm going to be using one or more of these characters in that farm. We'll see. Probably going to lean towards the Deadeye, actually. I might just do the Deadeye, ride the Deadeye all the way through there. I think it ended up being my favorite one after all. So that's it for now. I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in Diablo 4 if you're going to be there. Otherwise, see you soon. Bye.